Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the 6th ever edition of Wrestle Geek Podcast. I am your host, one of your hosts, Mitch, and I'm joined alongside with, as always, my brother from another mother, from Queens. What's up, Rich?
What's up, Mitch? What is going on? What is going down? What is the haps? How's everything going? Pretty busy week over here.
I know. That might be a copyrighted.
That could be a cease and desist right there in the making. I'm telling you.
No, we love Sam Roberts.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Sam Roberts.
Great guy.
Absolutely.
You know, busy week over here. You know, finalizing the details on the wedding, going on 4 weeks and counting, ironing out the final details. Very exciting.
Oh yes, we're excited. It's gonna be here before you know it.
Oh yeah.
Eating a lot of food and doing a lot of dancing and a lot of drinking. So.
Oh yes, you know that.
Absolutely. And returning, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, all the way from the other side of the globe, the United Kingdom. Make some noise. Put your hands together for my main man, Howie. Howie, what's up, man?
Woo! Howie!
How's it going, Mitch? How's it going, Rich?
Oh, yes.
I'm back.
Returns. We missed you, big guy.
Woo!
Oh,
Welcome
yes.
back.
It's good
Welcome
to be
back.
back.
Glad you're feeling better.
I am feeling better. It's been a crazy week. I had at first I thought I had the flu. Turns out I had tonsillitis,
Ooh.
which basically just involves your throat just swelling up to the largest size possible, making it very, very difficult to eat anything or drink anything.
Sounds like the most unpleasant experience possible.
It really is, and yeah, in the end, you're just. You know, you become a shadow of your former self, and you just walk around the house aimlessly with your head in your hands, screaming out, kind of like Sloth from Goonies. You know, like the bit where
with the droopy eye.
Sloth. That's what I became. It's like as Chunk moves through the darkness, it's the chain.
Oh, Slothy! Oh, I only dropped you once. On your head. Oh, fool!
So that if I was going to compare tonsillitis to anything, it'd be Sloth from Goonies. Maybe that's what Sloth had. Who knows?
Oh my
But
God!
it's great to be back.
Well, we're glad to have you back, buddy. You know, we had a good
100%.
time. We had a good time with Jay. He was a great co-host. We're definitely gonna have him back. My buddy Jay.
Yeah.
And but
I enjoyed the episode. I have listened to it and I enjoyed it very much. And I look forward to us having doing a 4-way dance.
Oh yes,
Absolutely.
A 4-way dance.
fatal 4-way. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And gentlemen, with that, if I may, since we have followed all the introductions, I would like to say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wrestle Geek Podcast.
And if you weren't listening before, folks, you may not be able to listen now after your eardrums have just exploded.
True.
Very nice. Oh, jeez. Well, yeah, it's been a good week. It was a long weekend. One of my fiance's aunts passed away, and she was a very sweet lady. So that's what I was doing.
Very sorry to hear.
Yeah,
Very sorry to hear.
thank you.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, man.
That's what I was doing this weekend, on Sunday and yesterday. So, but it's behind us, and our prayers are with her, and so that was part of my regular routine this weekend. So, I don't know. Let's go right into the Raw. Let's go right into the Raw recap here. Raw starts off. Of course, you got the poster child of WWE comes out. Who knows for how much longer? But yes, John Cena, ladies and gentlemen, kicking off Raw. And then basically what happened was the Miz came out, the Miztourage wound up turning into a match. What are you guys' thoughts on John Cena and the Miz? The match, the interaction. Personally, I thought it was actually really, really good. I think they had good chemistry together, opposing each other. And of course, throwing in the the WrestleMania talk, and I don't know if either one of you noticed. Maybe some people at home didn't notice. I don't know. But John Cena did throw in
A slight Undertaker reference?
Yeah, coming back from the dead, so they're planting the seeds. I have a feeling that'll be in a montage in future dates. So, but thoughts, gentlemen. Let's start with the Howie, since he had a week off. He has plenty of time to rest, so I know he's hot and heavy and he's ready to go. So, what do you say, Howie?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a good start. Got the crowd. Whether it's a positive or a negative reaction to John Cena, it is a reaction, isn't it? And so It's a good way to kick things off. He's got his own style of, talking to the crowd and getting them interested. Chemistry with the Miz, like you say, Mitch, is very good. Which is expected in men. Because of their history, they work really well together. It was a good start. I liked the abruptness of how quickly things got mixed up. But it wasn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a match later on. It was like, bang, Miz Taraj got involved. Things started kicking off. We're gonna have a match. Can I talk about the match? Can I go that far ahead?
Absolutely. You could do whatever you want, buddy. You're one of the co-hosts. You're one of the three amigos, the three stooges.
Yeah, I didn't want to go too far.
The three musketeers, even. Oh, yes.
Good match. Really solid match all round, actually, as a start to the evening. John Cena obviously going over on this one. Kind of makes sense. John has to look strong, and it did make him look strong, and it's not going to damage the Miz, really.
Nope.
Dude gets heat. Dude just gets heat from doing anything. So,
that's right.
It doesn't matter if he loses. All in all, really solid start to the show, and very entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a great match. We were even briefly talking about it earlier before we came on the air too, and how impressed we were. Right, Rich?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do got to say one thing. Whenever it comes to the Miz, it always seems whoever he gets into a promo with, he raises their game.
Oh yeah,
because he's by far one of the top level guys in general. But as far as promos go and getting on the mic skills, the guy's incredible. And then you add Cena into that mix, it's pure gold right there. And the match going back and forth, as Howie said, you go right into the match, high octane, back and forth. Submissions, the big attitude adjustment off the second rope. Phenomenal match. Great way to start Raw. Great promo to start it. Top to bottom, excellent segment.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. And then it turned into the match, which like we all said was actually a really good match. They had good chemistry. Had a couple of false finishes, in the end, of course, John Cena goes over. He wins the match, and the Miz has to enter number one, I believe, right at the in the Elimination Chamber. He has to be the first one to come into the match. What do you guys think about this Elimination Chamber now? They've added one person, so I guess the consensus is that they're going to start with three guys in the ring, right, Rich? That's what you were kind of guesstimating.
We touched lightly on this before. I think, I think the whole thing goes back to the reason why it became this. I kind of think it was a last-minute decision on their part, with the fact that Jason Jordan is now going to be out of action past WrestleMania due to the neck injury, which kind of also verifies the information like I was thinking that he was injured to begin with. That's why he really hasn't been in any matches. But I feel they really had nothing left for Seth Rollins to do. So what's left to do in order to kind of keep him relevant is put him in a higher profile match. And that's exactly what they did. You obviously knew that, from the Fatal 4-Way Second Chance match that Balor was going to get in. He was the heavy favorite. You knew it wasn't going to be Bray Wyatt. It wasn't going to be Matt Hardy, because they're in a feud already to begin with. And then I believe it was Apollo Crews in the other match, participating in the match, if I'm correct.
You mean the one that came later on in the evening?
Correct. Yeah, then the Fatal 4-Way that they added Seth Rollins
at the end. Yeah.
So you could kind of by process of elimination kind of figure out who was going to wind up going forward with that. But I'm not too surprised with the fact that they added him into the match, and it will be very likely a triple threat to start with. I think it's going to be kind of a new element, and obviously they're going to keep the 4 pods in there, so it's going to be like the first ever 7-man elimination chamber. Yeah, it should be interesting. We got 7 great guys in there, and the big, the good thing about this elimination chamber going forward, I think, is that all 7 guys that are in the match are all high profile guys that are in the match in a way that they all are strong as far as like their personalities and how their run is going, their push is going right now. So it's going to be a little different to see who gets eliminated first, how they could actually set the match up, and what they're going to wind up doing. So it should be very interesting seeing what they do going forward.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's interesting. It's entertaining. I have a feeling it's going to be a really good match. So I always liked the Elimination Chamber match. I think Eric Bischoff was supposedly the one who introduced it on screen,
He did.
right? Like on air, he was the supposed creator of it. And ever since its inception, I thought it was great. And I believe Shawn Michaels won the first one, right? He won the world title at the time.
Survivor Series 2002. Yeah, that's the same match I think Triple H almost got destroyed in by Rob Van Dam
when he jumped off the top and crushed his throat or whatever.
And he crushed his trachea. Yeah, he was really passing out like halfway through the match.
Yeah,
because he couldn't get full air into his lungs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was
Was Bischoff the one that actually created the match that pitched the idea, or was that Jericho that did that?
Well, no, I know on TV I think they like I said, for storyline purposes, I think
it was definitely because Bischoff was a general manager at the time
Bischoff
when
was
he started doing this.
Was the one who created on TV. He's the one like in storyline,
Right, but I think the one that brought the whole idea, I think to the creators of this fight, I believe was Jericho. I might be wrong though, but I believe it was.
That's interesting. I don't know. I don't know that, but I'll definitely look into that. I'll check it out. But I mean, it could be. It could very well be. So, and then we're moving on to it was a tag match. We had Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows versus the Revival, four of my favorite superstars currently in the WWE. Of course, what I thought was cool about this match was that the Revival actually went over. They actually won the match, which I thought was like sorely needed. And it's called the Shatter Machine. I remember we were trying to figure it out the other day. But yeah, that was the name. I think you were close though, right, Howie? Weren't you? Didn't you come up with something like that?
I think I called it like the Shatter Cutter or something like that.
Yeah. But you were there. You were right on.
The Shatter Cutter.
The Shatter Cutter.
I say he hit him with the Shatter Cutter. What's it called? The Shatter Machine.
If we could just do that with Smeagol, like from Lord of the Rings voice, that would be perfect.
Oh my god.
The Shatter Cutter. Oh shoot! How would you impress us?
Yeah.
That's
I should just use that voice all night.
accurate.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Howie,
I didn't realize you had that in you.
my precious.
The
It's the Wrestle Geek podcast.
Yeah.
So I did notice in the setup of this match between the Good Brothers. I don't think that's their official name, but they seem to be called
They're
that
like
a lot.
that. Yeah,
So
I think that's like their name for each other behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's
they
it. So the
kind
Good
of pull it out.
Brothers,
Yeah.
against the Revival. I thought, the setup was that very much the Revival were the heels, and the Good Brothers were the good guys. They were rocking their gimmick of the nerds and the nerdometer thing, which was quite fun.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And it was a solid match.
It was
all round. Another solid, entertaining match. And like you say, the big thing is that they went over, and after weeks of being kind of somewhat buried, not totally buried, partially covered ever so slightly in dirt, the Revival needed that kind of win. And it was a significant win, going over former tag team champions. I think there's probably a little bit more. Actually, I mean, what I felt from it was actually they're two very, very high. They came across as two very high-level tag teams, which they are. And actually, looking at either option, they're going to be really good contenders for the bar. And so it sets up a really nice kind of tag team scene.
I could see them win the tag titles at WrestleMania. Honestly, I really could.
Yeah,
I really could. I was just kind of thinking, this is like kind of like maybe a way out of the box kind of side note. But do you remember when the Revival was first when they were in NXT and they were coming up?
Right.
Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, who are the club, the Bullet Club. They were, the whole thing was it was kind of like a feud between the two of them through social media in a way, and like they would do like vignettes or whatever, like a regular thing, and like they would just joke around saying "F the Revival." Consistently. Now, isn't it funny how all of a sudden they're thrown into a feud here in WWE with Gallows and Anderson, who are both former members of the Bullet Club? So, do you think they saw that kind of energy where people are recognizing them going kind of back and forth, or the kind of like animosity that the Bullet Club had towards the Revival, whatever it was, and they said, "Let's cash in on that and let's throw like Gallows and Anderson into it." So it's kind of like them taking on the Bullet Club in a way, unofficially. You think that's a possibility, or you think I'm just like way overthinking it?
Well, you think you think for Cody Rhodes to return? Is that what you mean?
Right. Well, I'm just like, when Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, they're obviously the Bullet Club over in Ring of Honor and New Japan and so forth. There was always a thing like you can even find the videos on YouTube where like they're like, all right, guys, just cut a promo, and then like they would joke around and they would just say "F the Revival." Meaning towards like, how the Revival was stapling, we're going to bring professional wrestling back and everything. And I guess there was their way of like kind of taking offense to that, I guess, in a way.
I think it was also because that year, I think last year or the year prior, I can't remember. It was, I think the story also goes that the Revival won the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Tag Team of the Year award. And the Young Bucks, obviously. I think that's something to do with it as well. So it's kind of
I didn't realize that. You probably hit the head right on the nail right there. That's exactly what it was. That's why they probably went into instigation, like, okay, they're better than the Young Bucks with all the titles they've held like throughout the year. So that was probably the keynote start of that thing that they were doing. So you probably just solved the thing right there what I was trying to explain.
Yeah.
And then it just became a thing where they just kept kind of saying it. Cody got on it as well. So they in every promo they did, they were, online, they were kind of like finishing it with, F the Revival, which
right.
Which, if anything, it's things like that. It in a way, it kind of helps the Revival get over a little bit as well, even though it's kind of like negative connotation towards them.
It gives them a rub, right?
It's giving them a rub. There's awareness there, and it's and the Bullet Club are prolific in the wrestling scene and well respected with smarks, and it just puts them in the focal point, I guess. I think to the casual consumer, they probably wouldn't perceive the connection,
right.
But I think you're right. I mean, there is an element of that there, and I think actually as a matchup, to have the club against the Revival, I think there's quite a bit of fuel there. They can do quite a lot with that and have some really good matches. And exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's finally like I feel like definitely the last this week and last week, me and Richie were talking about this earlier, and I think you were on the phone with us too, like before we had the started recording the podcast. But I think that the last 2 weeks were definitely solid 2 Raws. There was never a point where I was like, ugh, like I don't want to watch this anymore, But
there really wasn't many points in the last 2 weeks where you kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna like if I DVR, I'm gonna fast forward through this. I really don't care about it, or I'll walk away from the TV. It was like for the last 2 weeks, it's been pretty consistent, and it's been entertaining for the most part, I would say. So they've done a good job in the last 2 weeks. They've definitely raised their game, I feel.
Absolutely.
I reckon they might have put Vince McMahon in the cupboard or something. They might have just like wheeled him into a cupboard, and he's just you know what would be a great idea, Paul? I think we should do this, Paul. Make sure you get them to do this, Paul. And then but he's just no one's listening, and they're just doing
it's like that scene in the Bronx Tale when Closer's getting ready to throw the dice. I don't want that face looking at this.
I don't want that face looking at that face when he's throwing the dice.
Yeah, exactly. Put him in the bathroom.
Put him in the bathroom.
I don't want you looking at that monitor with this going on. Get him out of here into the bathroom,
And up next, we had Kurt Angle's huge announcements. You guys remember what they were?
Well, it was...
That's how huge they were.
Ronda Rousey is going to be signing her Raw contract at the Elimination Chamber.
Bingo.
And then it was met with a chorus. It was met with a chorus of boos.
Boo. And then he revealed that his son, Jason Jordan, suffered a neck injury, and he will miss WrestleMania. Oh, we are all heartbroken.
Oh,
yes.
no.
As Howie would say, The Rock version 2 will be missing. Will be missing.
Yeah, Rocky Maivia version 2.
That's right.
He's got so much potential to one day do something great. I don't know what it's going to be, but I have faith.
I got a feeling when he gets back after WrestleMania, that's when he's gonna have the heel turn.
Oh yeah. You didn't worry about me. You people booed me when they said that I was getting neck surgery. So now I'm done trying. I'm done trying to be here for you guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be one of those things. Like,
he's just done.
It is like exactly like how we said. It is almost exactly like the Die Rocky Die thing now. But this is like real life. Like, they're saying this man has to have neck surgery and he's not going to be wrestling. And people are like, crapping on him because, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's one of those things, and it's definitely like a parallel to Rocky Maivia. And like, the more I analyze and the more I watch, and the more like I feel like everything what you said about him being like Rocky Maivia is coming to fruition.
And it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
So kudos to you, Howie.
Good job, Howie.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. It was a complete random thought, actually. I think it might have even been the first episode or the second
Something
episode.
like
I can't
that,
remember.
yeah, but
it literally, it's not something I had thought about before. It was literally as the subject matter came to hand and we were discussing it.
Off the cuff, as they would say. Oh, yes.
It was completely off the cuff.
Oh.
So Kurt Angle, so he told everyone that they should be ashamed of themselves, didn't he?
Basically.
Was like, they were all just like, yeah.
And I was like, is he turning bad, or is he just being on it? Like, is he being real,
I don't, you really couldn't tell. I mean, honestly, what he said, though, is like on point. It's like, whether you're a fan, like, if you don't like the guy, like, you don't wish like bad upon any of these guys. I mean, they're putting their bodies on the line every single night.
Right.
It's still real to me, damn it.
That guy's too much.
Yeah, I love it.
I think part of that part of the off the shoot kind of like, promo he did with that, I think was kind of came from the heart, I think, in a way, a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just, that, or maybe it kind of reflects back. You remember when he had that one thing on SmackDown, that promo, and like he kept coming out to his music, "You people don't deserve me," like, and he kept walking back, and he's like, "I'm gonna go in the back, and I'm gonna come back out again, and they're gonna cheer me." And he would come back out and he'd get booed again. He would walk back in, and like that'd be like the whole skit going back and forth.
Yep.
So I mean, maybe it was kind of like you said, maybe a little bit of a heelish kind of move, but at the same time, kind of truthful in the same sense. So maybe a combination of both.
Yeah, I think I can see that also. Absolutely.
And something I do notice, I don't blame him for it. Kurt does tend to stumble over his words when he's talking a little bit, doesn't he? He'll be like, then the
he is definitely the worst when it comes to that. I don't know.
He can't enunciate it. Sometimes it's pretty big stuff he's got to say, though, isn't it? So he'll be like I don't know. He'll be like the female wrestlers elimination chamber matchup, and within that, he's like,
you can totally see him like walking back to the curtain, and Vince is there walking. He's like, "Curtain, come here. What was that? You ruined it, damn it! That was a perfect promo. That's my. Where's me?
You ruined the whole thing.
You ruined it. You ruined it, damn it!"
Oh, that was the best.
It's a hard. It must be a very, very hard thing to do. I think to get everything absolutely perfect and crystal clear. Actually, I noticed, what's his name? Spud, Rockstar Spud. He's debuted over on 205 Live as the.
He's the new GM, right? I believe.
The new GM, yeah. He's what's he called now? Drake Maverick, and I
actually take the name. It's a pretty cool name.
It's a pretty cool name. He's been around. Obviously, he's a UK. Been cutting his teeth in the UK scene for a long, long time. The man, he deserves a shot in the WWE, but he's somebody who has absolutely bags of charisma. That works in his favor in WWE, I think.
Now, how would you? Do you think he'll eventually transition into a full-time wrestler, or what do you think his role is going to wind up being going forward?
That was my next question. I was going to ask: Is he have any injuries that we know about? That maybe that's why they put him as a GM first. Or...
Oh, that's a good point. Very good point.
Not that I know of. I think it's probably just it was a good opportunity because he is good. Kind of on the mic, he's charismatic. He's not. That's really where the kind of the tie-in was with Kurt Angle, is that I noticed on the first week that Spud was on, Drake Maverick was on. He had just a few little fluff ups in what he was saying, but generally he delivered very, very well. And it must be very difficult when it's like suddenly it's like, I've been wanting to be a wrestler all my life, and then suddenly you're in the WWE, and it's suddenly like the camera is on you, and you've got to deliver the goods and connect the storylines together in this very, very prime spot he's put in. I can totally see him becoming a full-time wrestler. I think it's probably that if you look at the kind of the roster of talent that they have within the kind of cruiserweights, it is actually quite stacked. They've got a lot of kind of good guys coming up as well. With what's his name? Ricochet. That's not what they're going to call him. So I think it's just a way of bringing him in a position where he's prominent and gets to be that mouthpiece, which naturally he's very, very good at. But I like the guy. He having been kind of seeing the trajectory of his career from well over a decade. He has been man and boy been training to be a wrestler, and great to see him kind of achieve the higher level finally. But anyway, back to the main Raw program. We're back in the ring with
no, but that was
Kurt
a good
Angle.
That was a good segue. I mean, because
absolutely
that's
well
your
done.
that's your that's your turf, man. Literally. I mean, you're from the UK.
Yeah.
That's your perspective, and you probably have a little bit of a better perspective on it than even Rich or myself, because
Spud, I think I don't know. I can't speak for every fan of UK wrestling, but I have a kind of a warm place in my heart for Rockstar Spud. I really do. I think he's just a guy who's just been grinding for such a long time to get where he is.
Just to add to the Rockstar Spud conversation, I'd actually just looked this up.
Yeah.
He actually debuted in TNA back in 2012, 2013. He was in the British boot camp. I guess it was like the introductory of the British Superstars, I guess, for that company. After that tournament, he was brought back on the TV as the chief of staff for Dixie Carter. So in a way, as he similarly reappeared on Impact as like kind of a general manager, he's doing the same thing now in WWE. So maybe they kind of maybe go in the same kind of timeline for him, because after he was chief of staff in TNA, he went to become an X Division champion. So maybe they're kind of doing the same kind of segue for him to start off as like getting his name noticed, and then building up to get into a feud with somebody, then going into a full-time wrestler.
Right.
Yeah, I totally can see that. He's got plenty of mileage left. And then there's the UK Championship as well, which is doing its round on the independent scene with current champion. What's his face?
Pete Dunne?
Pete Dunne. What a legend. See, I always fluff up one name. I always forget at least one name during the podcast.
He's really cool, though. I like that guy.
The Bruiserweight.
He's
he's badass. One
of the real potential. I don't know. I think he's obviously still young as far as kind of wrestlers go, but Pete Dunne's the kind of guy that I don't think there's any.
I mean, come on. He walks out to the ring with the belt in his mouth, holding it by his teeth. It's like a 15-pound belt he's holding with his teeth as he's walking to the ring. You know what I mean?
His dentist hates that, I bet.
I'm sure he does.
Just like,
damn it. Now I got to push your teeth back again.
Pete, didn't we have this conversation last week? You can't do this.
He's just, I'm a bruiserweight. I don't care. I think that guy, he's got like, there's no bounds to where his career is going to go. He's just got that kind of aura. I mean, that match he had, the match of the year, wasn't it, in NXT with balls. See, this is my podcast rust that's happening again. Former United Kingdom champion.
Shoot, why can't I think of his name? Blonde kid. Oh.
Blonde man, mustache mountain.
Taylor Bate, Tyler something.
Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate.
Yep.
Tyler Bate. There we go. So there
There
it
you
is.
go. He's really cool.
Check that out. Struggled to remember the prestigious list of title holders of the United Kingdom Championship. 2 names. So Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. Yeah, they had, what was it? The NXT match of the year. It was exhausting to watch.
All right, and then Seth Rollins comes out during the interview or during the announcements and basically throws a tantrum and says that he wants.
I don't want to be a part of Monday Night Raw. I don't want to be here. I want to be Monday Night Rollins.
That's exactly what happened. I like Howie's impersonation of Seth Rollins. No offense, Rich. You do a good one.
No.
You do a good crybaby also. But I like
It was he kind of comes out and he was like I have heartache. I've had heartache as well because I missed WrestleMania once upon a time, and now I want to be Mr. Raw, and I want to be the Universal Champion.
He's almost like a gremlin.
That was
He's like a little gremlin. Like when you see his face all scrunched up, like.
Yeah, he is. He's kind of like, I'm the WWE champion.
Seth jumped in the water again, didn't he?
Oh God.
Yeah. It's not the most accurate of impressions, but I think it's a good parody.
I like it.
But yeah, he basically come out, didn't he, and said to Kurt that, he missed WrestleMania and would like to be the man again. He doesn't want to be tag team champion. He wants to get in the mix. And so therefore, it should be a 5-way matchup and not a 4-way matchup, i.e., including him.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna predict right now that we're gonna see at WrestleMania Rollins, Reigns, Lesnar triple threat match.
Yeah,
the true WrestleMania 31 match that we saw at the end for the main event. Now in its entirety, fully.
I have a feeling. You're probably correct. Yeah.
Because there's nothing else for Rollins to do. The main idea for Rollins is to take on Jason Jordan, with Jordan turning heel. But now with him being out until after WrestleMania, they have nothing left for him, so they're gonna have to place him in that match, unless they find something else for him. But what else can he possibly be relevant in at the moment? Going into WrestleMania.
I think you're right. This is crisis management. They're kind of thinking we've got a guy who we need to do something with him. And actually, that match that you just described of Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, that's a WrestleMania match right there, isn't it? That's,
absolutely.
And Mitch, as you and I were saying earlier, we were discussing this is once again where, okay, well, you'll see once again Lesnar dropping the title without being pinned. So technically, he was unbeaten. Technically.
Yeah, keep him strong.
Yeah, but the whole question we go back to with Lesnar also. I don't want to get fully into it, but Lesnar might be gone after this WrestleMania anyway. Isn't his contract up after this WrestleMania?
Lesnar, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
then, who wins? It's got to be Roman.
It's got to be Roman Reigns. He's got to look strong.
I don't know.
The place is going to go nuts, isn't it? It's going to get like if he wins, if he is the man stood at the end of WrestleMania holding that red belt, it will just be a mixture of kind of childish and feminine screams with just a sea of
ooh-ah!
And
Vince, they're not saying ooh-ah, they're saying boo. No, what do you mean? They're saying ooh-ah. I hear ooh-ah.
Yeah, and then the next night on Raw, he'll come out and he'll be like, "Yeah, Mr. Arrogant, Mr. I'm the big dog. Check me out." Then I prefer Seth Rollins to win, but
I don't know why they don't just make him into a heel, man. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why is Roman Reigns not a heel?
Roman Reigns would be a billion times better as a heel.
Yeah, naturally fits that gimmick.
Yeah,
but he's a franchise player, yo. They want him to, they want him to be that franchise player. He must sell a lot of action figures, must sell a lot of T-shirts, and that's because if you think about it, like they're like, Mike, you're really committed. Mike the Miz, I'm talking about. They're like, Mike, you are a top superstar here, but the truth is, nobody buys your T-shirts or action figures, and so based on that, you have to be a heel. And he's like, but everybody hates Roman. Why can't Roman be the heel?
You remember remember that Chick Magnet T-shirt he had? That was really cool.
Yeah,
exactly. And then he'll be like, no, that's the thing, Mike. That's the thing. He goes, Roman's action figures and T-shirts outsell yours tenfold. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So therefore, he has to be a face. That is probably just the science of it.
That is kind of a good Triple H. I like that.
And then Cena, he's like, and then Triple H probably says it. He goes, look at John, for God's sake. People hate.
Actually, sounds like Triple H.
More, God damn it, people hate him more than they hate anybody. They hate him more than anybody. He goes, he's the most hated man on the goddamn planet. He goes, but the people buy his action figures and his T-shirts. Yeah,
he really sounds like it. I can't believe I never heard you do that voice before.
You know what? It's best for business.
Leave it up to an Englishman to do the best Triple H impression of all time. That's crazy.
That was on point.
God damn.
Okay, but you understand the context there.
Yes.
I can imagine.
Yes.
Yeah, with Miz crying about not being a face, and then he's like, "Please, I can be a sexy boy like Shawn Michaels." And they're like, "No,
you can't.
You'll never be as sexy. You'll never be as sexy as Shawn."
Oh man, that's definitely Vince talking about that. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
The next match was Bayley versus Sasha Banks in what was actually a very, very good match. I don't know why I'm doing that voice, but very, very good match. I don't know why it was on Raw and not on a pay-per-view. Again, I don't get it. Like Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt on Raw that night, and that terrible edition of Raw. And then this again now, and also the same thing, a clean finish. Bayley defeats Sasha Banks with the belly-to-belly off the top rope. I think it was off the top, right? It was like a super belly-to-belly.
Yeah, it was a super belly-to-belly, yeah. And,
a great match. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about it whatsoever. I'm happy Bayley actually won a match. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Then Nia Jax came out at the end and destroyed them both. But
and cut a great promo after the match. Yeah. I mean, she really connected really well with the crowd.
Her hair did. It was looking good.
Yeah.
But
as far as the match goes, the match was great. I mean, whenever you put Sasha and Bayley together in a match, the two of them have such great chemistry going back to the NXT days. Like Mitch and I, you and me saw the NXT Takeover.
Yep,
live.
We were there. Yep,
and we discussed this in the other podcast. And I mean, they just put on really good matches. And they just have that chemistry and that flow in the ring together. I mean, could it would have been better off as a pay-per-view caliber match, of course. But at the same time, we've seen it before. So let's throw it on Raw. It's planting the seeds for something greater, going forward. It's furthering the storyline. Wouldn't be too surprised. Everybody's kind of pointing at Sasha Banks turning heel. I think it's going to be the other way around. I think Bayley's going to be the one that turns heel, and Sasha's going to stay face. I mean, that's just my opinion on the matter. People might disagree. But, it's planted the seeds with a little bit of tension, animosity. And then you had Nia Jax come in at the very end, annihilating the two of them in a matter of seconds, and it cut the great promo up on the top of the stage. And in my opinion, I think she should be the one to beat Asuka Street if she's going to wind up, establishing dominance across the women's division.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I agree with everything you just said. I think the match was a really, really solid match, as expected. They are very familiar with each other. They have that natural chemistry, which harks back to, I don't know, let's think classic combinations. Hitman and Stone Cold. They always had good matches.
Back and forth. As JR would say, it's a seesaw matchup.
Yeah. And also, I know the second person that came to my mind was Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels too. Like they even though they hated each other, they always had good matches together. They were both consummate professionals.
Absolutely, and this was a very similar thing. Good, solid match. I did actually like the fact that they had this moment at this pause at the end of the match where it's kind of like, oh, we're going to see the heels turn. like you said, Rich, it's kind of expected that it would be Sasha to do it.
Right, and it's funny because at the same time, Bailey actually tried to push Sasha out of the way to take the hit from Nia to kind of save her.
Yeah. So it was cool.
So it's a cool little plot twist going on. So it should be good going forward with the storyline and see where it leads to. Because the two of them aren't going to be really involved with Asuka. That's going to be obviously Rousey and Nia Jax going forward.
I still find it funny because like Mitch, you've said before, at the end of the day, it is like a soap opera, and I find that what they're kind of really not doing, and they should embrace more and more, is actually just kind of creating the angles that just are obviously because you've got to have good wrestling in there, and with the talent's there to be able to do loads of really great wrestling, but to have these kind of very engaging kind of storylines, and I think that was kind of. I think there's more that could be done to make it more engaging. I think, like when we were talking about the Raw 25, and we were talking about how in the Attitude Era you had these really, really over-the-top angles that were created a character development and engagement with the storylines. That feels somewhat missing. But this was with this whole kind of setup with Bailey and Sasha, there's the potential to have quite a lot of drama there. But I don't know. We'll just see how it pays off as it progresses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
I definitely agree with that 100%. So they followed up the women's match with another women's match, which I don't usually see them do things like that. I don't remember that, but they literally had 2 women's matches in a row, which I'm not opposed to because I think it's great. But I'm just saying that was something that I kind of observed and I thought that was interesting to see. So. It was Mickie James and Alexa Bliss versus Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose.
When I used to go and see, I've seen so many WWE and TNA events when they've come to the United Kingdom. I've lost count, Right. But I've always back traditionally, it always used to be, because a big part of my experience of enjoying WWE, obviously responsibly, I do like to enjoy a beer. A WWE live event, and I like to repeat the process. Once I've had 1 beer, I do like to maybe have 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. I don't know,
5
maybe 6
beers. What? 6 beers? What? 7 beers? What?
Because it makes me more gobby. Like I can be vocal, and really shout at the referee or something.
Same as me.
I become a bit of a yob. I become uncouth, less of a gentleman. More of a yob.
I want to see uncouth Howie one day. I like this.
Uncouth, and I drink my beer and I enjoy my beer. But it would be when not these days, but traditionally it was when say like I don't know, Emma against Summer Rae.
Oh, we like Emma.
And I'd be like, of course I like Tennille Dashwood as well. She's
awesome.
She's mighty fine. And in the ring, may I say. That traditionally, that's kind of like everybody would make a beeline for the toilet. So you'd have some great matches. You'd have Sami Zayn against Neville or something, and then the Bray Wyatt bit would happen. Everyone would be like, rushing back. People would be queuing for beer, but when Bray Wyatt's coming out, everyone runs away from the beer, and then they run back, and they're like, I can't miss this bit. I've got to see the entrance. Yep. But then as soon as that bit's done with Bray Wyatt, it'd be like, oh, here comes Summer Rae, and here comes Emma, and everyone would be like, oh, yeah, I'm going for a piss, going to get a beer. Now I find that would be harder. I think these days, if at a live event, it might be when Kurt Angle comes out and talks. That might be when
you have to just reuse the bottle now. You have to just go in your seat. Maybe just go right.
Yeah,
into the
that's true.
bottle,
They're making it harder to have your toilet and your beer break.
You pull a Dumb and Dumber. When you pee in the bottle and the cop drinks it. Like Tic Tac, sir.
I remember at Wembley. At Wembley, my friend Tom and I went to see TNA, and I think they had a guy with a backpack, like a Heineken dude with a backpack going around, and he could fill your cup, so you didn't even need to get up.
Yeah,
I love that. But,
so now we could start a new business. We could have them fill our cups. Just go around and give them a piss cup so that they don't have to leave their seat. That could be a good racket we got going here. We go to the bowl games. Just go in here, bud. You set up a little curtain. You set up a little curtain around them, so they can go in the right there on their seat. It sounds like something of the future.
Yeah,
I like this. I think I might just stumbled onto something.
So what was this second match after Sasha and Bailey had their
Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose versus Alexa Bliss.
Baby.
And Mickey.
Baby.
James. Yes. So no.
Baby.
Sonya
It was a
Deville, Mandy
it was a-
Rose,
it was-
Alexa Bliss, and
it was a-
versus Mickey James. Yeah. So.
It was a ring full of talent.
Oh my
it was a
God, a ring full of
talent
something.
right
Let me tell you. But let me tell you. But yeah. So Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose won. It was a good match. They're playing off like the Alexa is starting to like kiss up to Mickey James again, and they're gonna be, Mickey James ain't having it, and then they're kind of together again. Of course, Mickey James has to do the job. After last week, she actually won the match last week, right? So, but now she lost again. So I mean, I guess
it goes back to the old setting of all the great older talent that comes back to veterans. Got a job to the
I hate it. I really hate
to
that.
the younger talent. I mean, I can understand putting people over and stuff, but I mean, change it up a little bit, people. Well,
yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Well, so that was that. Anybody have any thoughts on that besides that, Rich? Howie, anything?
Yeah, I think Mandy Rose.
Oh my God!
I just think we should just talk about her for a while. I like Sonya Deville as well. In all honesty, I think she's very talented as well.
Tough, yeah. And she looked pretty good last night. She had like her makeup on and stuff, so she didn't.
I think she looks.
She didn't look as mannish. Yeah.
I think the thing is, I think they have been making her look like softer, like more feminine kind of thing.
Right.
But I think it's a hard. I mean, I'm not that. I mean, let's face it, she is fit. But when you're coming out next to Mandy Rose,
oh my God,
you're up against.
All I'm gonna say, all I'm gonna say is that they engage your viewership. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
My viewership,
and if you folks out there for some reason are not familiar with Mandy Rose's work, please, we encourage you to go check her out. Google her name.
They are as a team though.
They're good.
They are coming across the superstars.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They're doing really good.
This has been something which has been on my mind, and I just keep forgetting to say it each week. When are they gonna
Absolution. That's a cool name too.
And honestly,
when are they going to do the tag division for the ladies?
That I want to say. But honestly,
it's time.
Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville do not need Paige. I would get rid of Paige. Have them
Richie
like turn
Richie is very against Paige. He doesn't like her voice and.
Oh God, so annoying.
She's a bit. She's like the other, when I was watching Raw.
She's too much. She screams too much. It just gets to me.
She does my head in as well. Like, and it's not just like I imagine because she has an English accent, British accent. But she sounds like some gobby, I was going to use the B word, but a gobby.
I appreciate that.
Starts with a B and rhymes with itch. He sounds like a gobby one of those, and she's just like,
sounds like Mitch. Yeah.
It's just like, shut up.
She sounds like one of those chicks that you'd see in the bar. That's like,
I would like to see
drunk and loose with her words,
and rambles, and it's like it's enough already. Please,
drunk, loose with her words, and the rest of her body.
She is like something like a drunken state of a woman that you'd see at 4 a.m. in Bournemouth. When basically they're
I've never been to Bournemouth, but I think that's also the equivalent of
we have an idea
Maspeth.
The mean streets of Bournemouth. The mean streets of Bournemouth. Yes, but no, she's not. Where is she from? She's not from the south, where I'm from. She's where is Paige from?
Like from Wales or something like that? Or?
No, she's not from Wales. No, if she was from Wales, she'd have an accent like this. She'd be like, "I'm from the Valleys," but she's not from the Valleys.
All right.
Let me see. Paige.
Look it up.
I'm googling it.
Google
Soraya J. Beavers.
Norwich, England.
Oh,
Norwich.
Norway.
She's built from Norwich.
Norwich, the home of Alan Partridge.
Let's see.
You guys probably don't know who Alan Partridge is.
Yeah,
the Partridge Family.
Yeah, she was born and raised in Norwich, Norfolk. That's.
You're talking about the Partridge Family, right?
No, Alan Partridge. I don't think you're familiar. Steve Coogan.
Dude, talking about the Partridge Family.
Alan, aha! No, I don't think he ever broke America with Alan Partridge. But Norwich. I've been to Norwich. But what should happen? I think you've alluded to this before, Rich, and maybe even Mitch. I think what would be great is if Bailey turn, it'd be great if Bailey then kicks Paige in with the help of Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville and takes her place in Absolution, if that's what they're called.
I like the
that'd
name
be
though.
Cool.
So, and moving on, we had a segment with Braun Strowman and Elias Sampson. So, but it was actually pretty good, and of course Elias works the crowd perfectly. Then Braun Strowman comes out with his giant. No, that's not what I was gonna say, folks.
Double,
he had a
double,
giant
double bass.
Yeah, he
His
had like the
giant
cello or
hands.
whatever that
Get
thing
these
is
hands.
called. That
Is
giant
what you're talking about?
thing.
Get his giant hands. Get these hands.
That's what it is.
There's a double bass.
Yeah.
I'm
And that
pretty
thing
sure
was
it's a
pretty
double
cool.
bass.
And he actually broke the
That was
strings
awesome.
on it, so he couldn't even really
Yeah.
play it.
And it was just he's like, I guess I don't know my own strength. It was actually pretty funny. It was a good
that was
segment.
funny.
But it also shows you with him how they're kind of expanding like his horizons personality wise. Because okay, you've been the monster, you're destroying things. What else can we do for you to expand and get connection with the crowd? And they kind of bring more of that comedic gimmick into with him, but yet still being a monster at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just find it amazing. He was originally a Rosebud in Adam Rose's party, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
and now look at where he is now. I mean, it's incredible.
And then the Wyatt family,
Yeah,
and then this.
yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
so that
incredible.
was cool. I mean, I wasn't too happy with him beating up Elias like that, but you know, it happened. That's what they did. So I mean, it was a nice segment. It was entertaining. I guess that's all you can really ask for nowadays. So moving on, we have Roman Reigns versus Sheamus. You know, do I really need to, you know, say who wins this? Hooah! So we had Roman Reigns won with the spear. That was about.
It was a
that
good.
about
It was a good spear. It was a like intercepting spear as Sheamus came off of the top rope. He whammied him with a spear. It was a good match. I actually thought.
definitely
You know
a nice
what's funny?
spear. You know.
You know how like they kind of put like little things here and there on Raw now, like, you know, if they're doing like promos you saw yesterday, like they'll put like the words on the bottom of the screen, which is like kind of like ridiculous. Like, you know, the three being like there was a couple segments they did that, but now I think like if they want to do something funny with like Roman Reigns, like just for comedic purposes, have him spear and have like the old Batman '69 thing pop like Pam, Pow, Ow or something, like, show up when it's up right in the screen.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that.
Superman punch, you see the pow symbol come up on the left hand side of the screen, hits him with a spear, wham, hits on the bottom right of the screen.
Do you know? I'm not surprised. I'd love to see it.
But instead of having,
Totally wouldn't surprise me if they put in special effects. You know, like I mean, I know what you're saying. Like you're saying, like it'd be like these kind of old cartoony.
yeah,
kind of
have like his symbol or whatever behind it, like with the two R's with like the stake in the middle, have like two like hounds, like dog hounds, like on the sides of it, like it sound
I
like
can totally imagine them giving him like bloody laser hands or something. You know, like probably like so that as he's like does his pump action on his wrist, you know, before he does I don't know if that's what you'd call it, the Roman Reigns pump action on his arm, and then he powers it into the floor. I can totally imagine putting special effects to make his hands look like they're surrounded with energy.
Oh my god!
beams.
Like when he punches
like a
the floor.
Hadouken.
Yeah.
Hadouken, and he's like, God, you know, I could totally see that happening. Yeah.
So yeah. So
but
that was
what happened?
he wins
What
the
happened?
match. Fatality.
He won the match.
Dog wins.
Excuse me, yeah, excuse me, my illnesses are catching up with me. I'm gruff. Yeah, so it was a decent match. Roman Reigns once again.
Yep, wins. And then we had the main event, which was the Finn Balor, Apollo Crews, Bray Wyatt, Woken Matt Hardy, and Seth Rollins. Yeah, and it was a no contest because.
No, that was a no.
Tell him, Rich.
Well, the ending of the match was both Balor and Rollins both pinned Bray Wyatt at the same time. So
Right.
then they announced that both were the winners.
Yep.
The co-winners of your Monday Night Raw main event. You know, they called them.
Richie's still in Royal Rumble mode.
I am.
The Warlord. Haku.
Mr. Perfect.
I mean, we're not that far removed from
really
it. So.
refreshing. What was really refreshing about this particular match was Apollo Crews. I think he's a guy. He's quite a Shelton Benjamin. We referred to him as that before, and I don't mean that based on upon his heritage. I mean that upon his incredible ability within the ring, and he really shined.
A big guy too. He's unbelievable agility, athleticism,
incredible agility. Dude can like backflip and moonsault all over the place and kip up, and he's just so fast. And he really shone. It was like they gave him an opportunity to mix it up with a whole bunch of guys who I saw as being like the level up from him. And what he showed was that he is of the caliber that he can mix it up at that level as well. And it felt like the first time they handed him that opportunity, and I think he delivered, and he really stood out in that match as creating some of the most exciting spots in the whole thing. So yeah, really, really positive for him. Who knows? Too early to say what will become of that. But I thought this match kind of served as being just actually a really nice finish to what was a very, very good Raw.
Yeah, very solid Raw. Very solid.
Yeah,
very strong.
Very.
Very strong.
Yeah, they just need to put Vince in the cupboard more often, don't they? It's just like, maybe they sort of like, hey, Vince, and, it's just like, he turns up and they're like, Vince, hey, you hungry? And he's like, what? No, I'm just eating. They're just like, sure,
I don't
come
eat.
on, let us take you out. I don't know.
They took him out already.
Who did they get to turn up to do that? Who's like an old mate of Vince's, haven't they? They got like Ric Flair turned up.
Pat Patterson.
And Pat Patterson. And, they just reminisced about old days. And he's like, damn it, I got to get back to the arena for Raw. Turns up.
Don't worry about it.
Whole show's over. Turns up late.
That's funny. But yeah, folks, Raw seems to be improving as time goes on. A nice Raw and a nice finish. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Our next segment for this week's Wrestle Geek podcast will be... No, don't let the music throw you off. That's right. It will be the greatest intercontinental champions of all time. We're going to pick out three favorites and then also discuss others. That's right. So, we all know the history of the Intercontinental title. That's right. Pat Patterson is always billed as the first ever Intercontinental Champion. However, what a lot of people do not know is that one of my favorite wrestlers of all time and one of the inspirations for me actually becoming a wrestling fan, diehard, full-blooded, full-time, all the time, every time, is the fact that Ted DiBiase was technically the first Intercontinental Champion. Don't believe me? You can always check Google, and most of the time it'll tell you. It'll tell you the truth. So, yeah, that's right. So, Ted DiBiase was the first ever North American champion. And then it was changed to Intercontinental Champion when Pat Patterson won it. So, that's an interesting fact that maybe a lot of people don't know. It kind of got lost in time, lost in history. They don't bring it up much. For what reason, I don't know. But I guess because Pat Patterson was such a cornerstone of the company for so long that they want that to be his legacy. So, in any case, gentlemen, we're here. I'm going to start with Howie. Since you weren't here last week, I'm going to give you, the first on just about everything. So first, we're going to start with you. Who do you think is the greatest or one of the greatest Intercontinental Champions of all time?
Oh, without a doubt, it's got to be the Mountie.
Oh, God. Oh, man. I thought you were going to say the Godfather. Oh, my God.
It's got to be the Mountie. Yeah. Wow, what a reign. No, in seriousness, this is a very, very difficult question.
I know.
Very difficult question.
I know.
My personal favorite Intercontinental Champion. Oh, goodness gracious. Even, I'm about to commit, but even still. Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect.
Oh, yes.
Just exude what the Intercontinental Champion should be.
Absolutely.
In my view.
Yep.
But I can give nod to I think, on paper, and I think the guys had had great runs, and just how prolific he was as a champion with Chris Jericho. Obviously from a very different era to Kurt Hennig as well. Both fitted the bill of being that kind of workhorse champion that the Intercontinental Champion is always, not always. I was going to say has always been, but it hasn't always, is it? Ezekiel Jackson, I don't think could be considered. The same kind of workhorse.
No.
Big Zeke. I don't think he could be considered as being the same kind of workhorse as a Kurt Hennig or a Chris Jericho. But then
it's one of those things, man. Like where, when I think Intercontinental title, like when I just think about the word or the belt, like Mr. Perfect is the first person that always pops in my head. Like he for some reason, I feel like that belt was just made to fit him because it just looked perfect on him. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Rich, who do you think is on that list of top Intercontinental Champions of all time?
The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, you're 100% right, man. And all that, travesty and had to surrender the belt and lost his smile and all this other kind of stuff. Whatever happened to him, he got knocked out.
Well, that was the world title. That was the world title.
But they did that Tell Me a Lie music more than once.
Oh, of course.
So,
but, other than HBK, I definitely Razor Ramon, the bad guy.
Yeah,
just the
they were kind of connected at the hip with that whole thing.
Yeah, the ladder match, WrestleMania 10 going into it. One of the greatest Intercontinental title matches of all time, and two of the greatest Intercontinental champions.
And it's funny too because they always say, like Shawn Michaels always says that, like, that was a great ladder match, but because that's the one everybody remembers because it was like the first one that they really televised on a pay-per-view.
Right.
But there were several others before. Like he had one with Bret Hart at one point. Bret Hart was actually the one that came up with the whole idea to have the ladder match. And then I guess the creative direction they went in wind up they gave the match to Shawn Michaels. But meanwhile, as far as I know, the first ladder match in WWF was Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. That was actually the first ladder match. So that's another little factual tidbit.
That was at a live event in '92 or something like that, wasn't it? I think that's when they did
it. It was on a VHS that I had.
Coliseum Video.
Yep. But they added a lot of those to the network, from what I understand. Also, I don't know if that's one of them, but they're definitely on there. I don't know. Definitely Shawn Michaels, definitely Razor Ramon. Oh man, Mr. Perfect. Yep, that's another one. You know what it is? It's just so hard to.
What about Rob Van Dam?
He was really good. He was
significant,
but again, not like I guess because of the.
Is he a greatest? Is he a greatest though? Is he?
I don't know.
I think Shelton Benjamin was a very, very good Intercontinental Champion. I think Rob Van Dam was a very good Intercontinental Champion. I think Randy Orton was a very good Intercontinental Champion.
Oh,
but
he was.
Were they great?
Yeah.
I'll
tell you a great one. You're gonna like this one, Howie. You're gonna like this one.
Yeah.
One of the greatest Intercontinental Champions of all time, yeah. It's Macho Man Randy Savage, yeah. That's right, I held the Intercontinental Champion. I had an epic match at WrestleMania 3, to get against Ricky Steamboat.
So I think Randy Savage is definitely up there. One of the greatest Intercontinental Champions, one of the first workhorses in this business. And we brought him up before, but don't forget Bret Hart, too. Bret Hart was definitely an amazing Intercontinental Champion. Was also a great world champion, and in my opinion, I think he did a great job carrying the company when he had to do it, when it was a terrible time for WWE. But, and
I got one, guys. I got one. You ready? One of the greatest of all time, Ahmed Johnson.
This is the people's belt.
I heard you guys talking about him last week.
Yeah, we were.
And I thought it was so funny because it's true. It's like at the time when I was a kid, I thought
he was awesome,
really cool. I thought he was a great champion. I thought he was going to be the WWF champion when I was a kid.
I thought so too, man. I was hoping for it actually.
He beat Vader with a spine buster. I remember thinking, "Wow, this guy's going to the stars." But when I look back at his promos now, it's like I do not understand a word. Just noise. Just like. And it's just like what? What just happened here? And he got screwed because he
understand a word he's
had to
saying.
carry. He had red and black attire, didn't he? Which he wore to the ring, and he had to carry the Intercontinental with the gold leather strap.
Yeah, because he won it from Goldust. Yeah.
Oh, won it from Goldust, but they never gave him the black one. Which
It was a
would have
King of the
looked
Ring,
better.
right? Where he won it.
His whole thing was holding the gold belt, and it never looked quite right. It was kind of like what happened to Sergeant Slaughter, where he had to hold a purple winged
belt
eagle that he won from the Warrior.
Purple world title available soon at Wrestling Figure Workshop and Hestel Toy. Oh yes,
soon. It's coming. I'm working so hard.
It's like Ahmed Johnson. Remember when Owen Hart came off the top rope with the cast and smashed him in the back of the head, and then Vader pinned him?
I mean,
yes, that was another match.
I mean,
Owen looked so stiff when he hit him with that cast. I was like, oh my god! I thought he killed him.
Cool gimmick. That was a good gimmick.
We can't understand what you're saying, Ahmed. That's why I knocked your leg out of your leg. But you're too damn selfish. That's why I knocked your leg out of your leg. And I hit you in the head with that damn cast.
Yeah, actually, it turns out it was Owen that kicked him in the kidney.
I kicked him in the kidney. I gave the enziguri. You watching, Brett? Not my lousy brother, Brett.
And I can't nail it today. I'm trying to summon Owen Hart.
I was speaking about like when Shawn Michaels, I swear Shawn Michaels repeated the same thing over and over. You know when he lost his smile?
That's what I'm
saying. He did it again.
Yeah.
He did it again, didn't he? He had about 3
because there was 2 Tell Me a Lies. Remember they had 2 different versions. A lot of people don't remember that.
I remember that. That music video
Tell
where
Me
it was
a
like,
Lies.
they need to do that shit again. Excuse my language, but that was
I'm
a really
so excited.
great way.
I was so happy when they finally put it on one of the anthology album. Oh my God.
Now that Jason Jordan's having neck surgery, they need to bring that song back and be like, and have like a video vignette of him doing stuff with American Alpha, him doing bloody side suplexes on Dean Ambrose and stuff, and then just like, and it's kind of like, here's a video tribute to Jason Jordan, and then everyone will be like,
no, just
my heart goes out to him.
There is
they never do that anymore, these kind of video bits.
There is a lot of people that have no idea what we're talking about right now because they're newer fans. So
that's true.
I'm playing it in the background for everybody right now, just so that you can understand what it was to be a fan of WWF back in the 90s.
When Shawn lost his smile, I lost
Shawn
my
Michaels
smile with him.
So I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna find my smile.
To all our listeners, it's time to take out.
I'll be back.
It's time to take out your box of Kleenex and relive the moment with us.
I don't know how he did it, but he made himself look really withdrawn.
And then
it was all the somas.
And then he would always pick to the female fans, and then people were like, "No, Sean, you can't go. You can't go, Sean." I have to.
It was, wasn't it? And
I don't have my smile. I gotta go.
And they show that video, and it's so sad, and you see him, like when they're saying, "You always were my angel, flying high above," and you see him jumping off the ladder.
Elbow drop.
And then you see that very large-breasted woman, like, reaching out towards Shawn Michaels with her tight white T-shirt on. It was very touching. It was very touching. I wish I could touch them, but it was very touching. It was a great video.
I mean, they used. I tell you what was the around that time they had some great video stuff. We've gone so off the point of the Intercontinental Championship, except
that's okay. This is what we do here.
This is how it happens.
This is what we do here, folks.
We segue out to come right back in again. It'll come full circle.
They had one for Bret Hart called "You Start a Fire."
Yes.
It was like, "You start a fire, you start a fire in me. You are the air I breathe." You remember that?
I do remember that.
Oh,
It was
yes.
watching the flames burn higher, feel my desire.
I believe that was on the Volume 2, WF Music Volume 2.
Was it on that or was it on? No, it was.
I listened to that song. Actually, speaking of, I was going to say.
Hold on, Howie. Hold on. Let's treat the fans. Let's treat the fans to the real version, because in case they have never heard it, this was the inspiring when they were trying to push Bret Hart to the top of the mountain. He came out with this awesome song. It was very. I remember back in the day when I used to work out. I used to listen to this song. This is.
It drove you to
very
greatness.
inspiring. And that video was badass.
Drove you to greatness.
I strove for greatness. It made me bench press that little bit more.
It pushed me to the 235-pound flab that I am now. Oh yes, it's great. But anyway, yeah, it's very inspiring. Very inspiring.
They really did do a lot of kind of music stuff back then. Do you know, one of my favorites was what was it? The Milli Vanilli.
I'll be your hero.
With
Remember that
Jeff
one?
Jarrett.
No, Alexis Russ.
Oh,
You know
man.
what was it? I can't wait to be alone with my baby tonight.
Oh, let's give him that one. Now, what it was this one, folks, was in case you were too young to be there, like, because us old farts were there. Jeff Jarrett supposedly sang a song with My Baby Tonight, and they had it the whole time planned that it was going to be actually Road Dogg Jesse James singing.
Yeah, the Road Dogg.
And if you go back and listen to it, you can actually tell it's his
He was
voice.
good. And he was a good singer.
He was.
Actually.
He was.
He was
good.
I thought the song, when I was a kid, I thought the song sucked. I listened to it now and I'm like, yeah, man, I can sing.
Spend my days working hard on the road.
When I was a kid, I thought that song sucked, and now I think it really sucks. Oh, yeah.
We all know the words, though. You know?
I know.
Spend my days working hard on the road. Put the hands on the clock, keep spinning too slow.
No, it was actually a good song.
Let me go home with my baby tonight.
Oh,
man, Rich,
I'll tell you what.
sound like you were underwater just
That
now
was,
again. I think it's you. I just think it's you, man. I don't know. Like, I talked to him on the phone in the car, and let me tell you, man. Sometimes he's driving, and it's like he starts talking, and it's like, yeah. So I went down to book the whole wedding, and then me and Michelle, and I booked the limo, and then it was like I've talked, and then the DJ gave me all the songs, and then and the whole time I'm like, Rich, I can't hear you, Rich. You know, but you gotta love T-Mobile and what do you got, Sprint, Rich? I don't know.
I got Verizon.
Oh, there it is. I just heard it again. And he's not even using the cell phone. I think it's your voice. I think you're like that guy from Spaceballs that can change his voice into like all different sounds.
I don't know if speaking of kind of wrestle crap music, like, do you remember in 1993, I think it was, or even 92, they did the WrestleMania album with Slam Jam on it, and it had the
love that
WrestleMania
song.
Yeah, all the wrestlers in it.
Pump it up,
Jam.
Yeah, Slam Jam, and it was like, but with
Fighting
on
to
that
survive.
record,
Oh yeah.
on that record, there was a track by Bret Hart. I can't remember what it was called. It was something like it's never easy to say goodbye or something like that. And
There's
it's
never a right time to say goodbye.
yeah, that's the one. My God, that is a
What
work of art.
What a piece of crap.
That is like apparently it was originally intended for David Hasselhoff, and it is such a funny song but it's so catchy. I literally find myself like humming that to myself right around.
so-
I'm driving and I'm like, you know.
What everybody wanted back then was a wrestling album that had their entrance music in it, and instead, WWE, WWF at the time, came up with the bright idea to release this, which was a 1993 album that included all the superstars singing their own song, which was terrible.
Do you know who was behind it? Simon Cowell of the X Factor.
Really?
Simon Cowell. That was his idea. He produced that album.
No way. Who'd you see
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah, really?
Not kidding. Look it up. He did it with Pete Waterman. Pete Waterman was a songwriter and producer in the United Kingdom who had success with Kylie Minogue and a guy called Jason Donovan, who were like Australian exports. They were in
Holy crap. You were absolutely
they were in a TV. When I was a kid, there was a program called Neighbours, and it had Jason Donovan and Kylie Minogue in it, and Pete Waterman was the guy who kind of took them from TV into pop stardom.
Wow.
And Simon Cowell, being the kind of entrepreneur he was, Pete Waterman, and anything that was a craze at the time. So like he would see, say if wrestling was big, or they did it with, there was a thing called Bob the Builder, which was really big here as well, for
My
the
cousin used
kids'
to watch
TV
that, yeah.
program.
Mhm.
And Simon Cowell got behind that, and he would go like, if something was big, can we make records and do something with that? And that's what he did with the wrestling thing. And so Pete Waterman and Simon Cowell produced that 1993 WrestleMania Slam Jam cacophony of wrestle crap.
So yeah, folks. I mean, that was the Intercontinental Champions. Those are the ones we chose. That's the ones that came to our mind first. If you have any others that you'd like to add, you can leave them in the comments if you're listening to this.
I've got more. I have more.
Oh,
In all honesty, there's more.
there's always more.
So many more.
There's always more.
Always
Jeff Jarrett.
Oh,
Straight to
my
Hammer
God.
Valentine.
Oh,
Triple H.
Triple H.
Don Morocco. The Rock Don Morocco.
Owen Hart.
Pat Patterson.
I'm the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Woo!
Rick Rude. Val Venus.
What I'd like to have,
Turner.
what I'd like to have right now, is for all you fat, out of shape Pennsylvania pissants.
Or
Hey,
how about this one?
Hey, wait. Nobody's mentioned the Honky Tonk Man in this entire.
well,
he's the.
He is the
Well, he's-
quote.
he's the
he
great-
was the quote
He's cool.
unquote,
He's
right?
cocky and he's bad.
Oh, he's bad. How about
Hello, ladies. You know, the Big Valboski is a lot like a Rubik's Cube. The more you play with it, the harder it gets.
Oh, I see what you did there. Okay. I don't think we've. I don't think we even mentioned the fact that well, you did actually. You did speak about the Yellow Intercontinental title, because I was going to say, oh, Corgan.
oh, Colgan?
Yeah, the Warrior, when he was Intercontinental Champion. Oh, Corgan.
Hulk Hogan. And let's not forget, honorable mention goes out to the Miz, because I feel like he definitely brought a lot of
prestige
validity
back to
back.
that title.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Yeah,
But,
and the Mountie.
Oh.
and
Piper.
Ahmed Johnson.
Ahmed Johnson. Rowdy Roddy Piper. I mean, I loved it when he became the Intercontinental Champion, because he beat
too.
the Mountie. And I loved the way he beat the
Yeah, he
Mountie,
did.
because
He did.
Sleeper hold.
he had he had a shock-proof vest on,
Yep.
and he couldn't use the zap stick on him, and then he put him in the sleeper and stuff,
Yep.
and it set up a great
He
match.
and then he zapped him after the match.
It was great. Yes, that was so
Yeah.
awesome. And that's some of my favorite hot rod moments. That was
Absolutely. That match was
brilliant.
awesome too, between him and Bret Hart. So,
Oh my
That was-
God,
it was
WrestleMania!
great.
Yeah, so
we,
good.
We were just talking about that the other day, Rich.
Yes, we were. Yes, we were.
So, but all
I
right,
used to,
boys.
I used to love. Oh, just speaking about that, the one with the hot rod and Brett. Yeah, those finishes. Brett was so good.
He can
back then
reverse
at kinda
anything.
coming up with these really great ways of having matches finish in unobvious ways, and you can see that throughout Brett's career, where he's kind of calling the matches with different people that he's in and coming up with these creative endings. So notably that one where I think he walks up the turnbuckle and out of a sleeper hold and turns it into a pinning combination.
Yep.
And then there was the
He beat Steve
victory
Austin
roll.
the same way.
Beat Steve Austin the same way. Then there was the victory roll against Bam Bam Bigelow at King of the Ring, where he's up on his
Oh, that
shoulders
was
and then
awesome.
Isn't it the same finish he did with Owen Hart and Brett at WrestleMania 10?
Yeah, but then
Pretty much
Owen
the same
Hart.
thing?
No, but Owen Hart fell forward and pinned him.
Oh,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he went on top and pressed his arms down, right, for the pin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was Brett. Brett was he would call those kind of spots, and he
Yep.
did it as well with Bulldog as well,
Yep.
because that's how Bulldog beat Brett. So Brett was going for like the sunset flip, and
Right,
then
right.
Bulldog just collapses down on top of it, holding his legs down.
Right, and pulls his leg up. Yep.
That was
God,
great.
I love that kind of just that detail of just thinking about a really creative way of getting a pin and making it an exciting and surprising end to a match. Brilliant.
I totally agree.
Loved it. That's what I've got to say about that. And just trying to think of what's very, very interesting about the Intercontinental Championship is that there are some great Intercontinental champions who that was the title that defined their career. So you could say like
Mr. Perfect.
Mr. Perfect or Honky Tonk Man, for
Yep.
instance. However, there are some.
I'm the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. The Honky Tonk Man.
Still believes
You
it.
can't dance like the Honky Tonk Man.
And then there are those as well that it was kind of it was a stepping stone on the path to further greatness.
Bret Hart.
Triple H,
Oh, yeah.
Triple
Bret
H,
Hart.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart. It was part
Rock.
of their Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
The Rock.
Shawn
It was like
Michaels.
part of their build-up.
Diesel.
Did you say Diesel, Kevin Nash,
Diesel. Big D.
Big
And,
D.
Unfortunately, Razor Ramon was never able to get to that next plateau. I don't know.
No.
It's true, isn't it? So it's funny how for some it is the pinnacle, and then others it was just a stepping stone to further.
Isn't it funny though
further
how like
greatness.
how Razor Ramon never gets that like when they talk about people that never like we talked about this, you know, with Jake the Snake and Mr. Perfect and Roddy Piper and all these people that never won the world title, Andre the Giant, you know, Ted DiBiase, people like that. Like Razor Ramon never really comes up. Like he's kind of like, you know, he's kind of sometimes he gets lost in the shuffle. I guess as far as people that never achieved the, you know, the world title. It's just because he was such a huge star that you never really think of him that way. I guess, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
But in any case,
But okay, I've got one. Here's one. Just before I just you know what? Because you're talking about. It just literally came into my mind just because he's not one of the greatest intercontinental champions, but because you're talking about Shawn Michaels losing his smile, who was it who he gave his title to? It was
Dean Douglas.
Dean Douglas,
Yeah.
You could probably class him as the worst intercontinental champion of all time. He wasn't given a good shot.
However, one of the greatest
you know-
ECW superstars of all time, the franchise.
Shane
Yeah.
Douglas, yeah.
He didn't get a fair shot, did he? Let's face it.
No.
Marty
Got buried.
Jannetty.
Oh yeah,
He
Marty
was-
Jannetty.
He was a Marty Jannetty. He was a multiple intercontinental champion, but no one seems to care or remember much.
He's not Shawn Michaels.
Do
that's
they?
why.
It's like, yeah, exactly. It's just like it doesn't matter how many times he could have held that title. It's just like, no, don't really remember or care anything good about it. I can't remember anything good other than him losing it
Yeah.
to Shawn Michaels
That was
usually.
probably about it.
You
Yeah.
know?
Or when he got thrown through the freaking window. That's another good thing of his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that. I better meet and greets. People are just like,
The
hey,
best is
Mike,
like when he super kicks him and
I
Bobby.
loved it when you.
Heenan.
Marty, I loved it when you got chucked through that window. And he's like, yeah, cheers, guys.
So, all right, boys. Well, it was fun. I'm glad we had a good week. It was nice to have you back, Howie.
Shamrock.
Absolutely.
Ken Shamrock was an intercontinental champion as well.
He was.
wasn't he?
World's most dangerous man.
He was.
God, we could go on forever
could go
with
on
this.
forever.
Couldn't we?
We good.
But we're not going to. So, everybody,
Cherry Von
have a
Erich,
good
Texas
night.
tornado.
We'll see you next week. Good night.